Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Dreams Unlimited Travel Parents Panel Podcast. My name is John Magi, and I will be your host, where we're going to talk to some of our Dreams Unlimited Travel agents and employees who have kids about their experience traveling with kids and sharing stories and hopefully sharing some useful advice with all of you. I am thrilled to be joined this week by Dreams Unlimited Travel agent Elaine Edwards.
Hi, friends.
Director of Marketing for Dreams Unlimited Travel and in charge of all things Diz related, Cory Martin.
I'm just happy to be here.
And producer of all things Diz related, Dreams related, world related, producer extraordinaire, Craig Williams.
Ahoy, hoy.
I don't know. He didn't seem to think that was a good introduction. All right. So thank you guys for joining me. I don't know what's happening in the ether of the internet. I don't know if people like this show, don't like this show. I don't care. I'm doing this just for me. I'm learning a lot, as folks know from other shows and listening to other things I do. I do not have kids, but I love kids. I especially love kids that are not mine and living in my house. So it's always great to talk to parents about how they travel at Disney, their concerns, their issues, and I learn stuff, right? Because I am in charge of a travel agency, and we are catering to everybody. We are trying to make sure everybody has a great vacation. So the more I learn, the better my skill set is to help the folks who are traveling with us. But of course, I am not an expert on children, so we are going to bring in more and more folks who have kids and can share their stories with us. So we're going to start by going to our new folks, the folks who haven't been on this particular show just yet. I want them to introduce themselves, tell us a little bit about their Disney background, their Disney story, and about their family dynamic. And hopefully that'll give you all a chance to relate to them and get a feel for how they sort of match up with your family dynamic. So I'm going to start with Elaine. Elaine, tell us about you, your Disney story, and your family.
Yes. So my first trip to Disney World was when I was 2, and my parents brought me, and they brought me all throughout my childhood, almost every year. On the very last day of school, we would then leave and drive down. I do live in the Midwest, so it is a 2-day drive. So we would drive all day for 2 days. And when we got here, we would always stay in like Motel 6, or sometimes if we were really splurging, we'd stay at the Super 8. And we usually would spend a couple days at the parks at Disney World. We would go to Universal, and then we'd usually go over to the beach and go to Kennedy Space Center, that kind of thing. And we would always leave right after the 3:00 parade. I never saw any fireworks at Disney. We would have Pizza Hut for dinner, all that fun stuff. So it's very different from how I travel now. So I did that all through growing up, and then got married, had a kid, and it's like, okay, it's time to go to Disney World. And then I discovered you could stay on property. You could eat in the parks. I mean, this was like a whole new world to me. And I just completely went a little nuts. And we, kept having more kids and kept coming to Disney World. And so I now have 3 boys. And their current ages are Max is 21 and Riley is 15 and Eric will be 12 at the end of this week. And
21? 21, did you say?
21, 15, and 12.
I remember when they were all tiny, tiny little children.
All 3 of them are taller than me, which is very weird. To have 3 boys that are all taller than you. And I consider myself a tall person, but they're all huge. So traveling as a family of 5 at that time was a very different dynamic, because the world is not meant for a family of 5, especially in travel, because hotel rooms don't hold 5 people. Even all of the rides typically seat 2, 2, and 2. So it was a really interesting dynamic to figure out and manage how you travel with 5 people, because it was just it was a lot to kind of figure out. So that was an interesting circumstance through all of our travels with them. And along with that, my middle son does have autism. And so that has been very different. His first Disney World trip was when he was 2, all the way up to now, and they look very different. You know, my kids have been to Disney World. They've been on Disney Cruise Line. We were lucky enough we got to go on the Galactic Star Cruiser. And so all of those situations and navigating with that as he has grown and how his needs have changed over the years has been a very interesting dynamic.
Can I just, I want to question, I have a question for you. Did you mention how many brothers and sisters you have when you traveled?
I did not. Because they were all in high school when I was born, so they didn't come on our trips with us. So it was like I was an only kid. So
that's why you find the dynamic different, traveling with 5 as opposed to just you and your folks.
Even though I have 3 siblings and we were a family of 6. We weren't really a family of 6. We were a family of 3 because they were all out of the house.
And I apologize. I interrupted you. You're talking about you guys have done World and Cruise and Star Cruiser. Ever done land? Have you been to Disneyland with the kids?
So my kids have not yet been to Disneyland. They do definitely want to go. That's on our radar. And the next thing that they are really wanting to do is they do want to go on a cruise to Alaska. So that is our next imminent thing, is that they really, really want to do that because it is something different from them. So they're looking very much forward to that. And then now, as we travel now, because I'm a Disney focused travel agent, I do go to Disney a lot, where whether I'm going with my kids, whether I'm going by myself, whether I'm going for work, whether I'm traveling with my friends that are all adults, they're all very different trips. So now when I'm traveling with my kids, I am now divorced. So I'm now a single parent traveling with 3 kids, which is a completely different dynamic. And it's a little scary the first couple times, but we've got it down to a science now. And now that my kids are older, it's so much fun traveling with them because it's not as stressful and they all get along fantastically. And they get along the best when we are on vacation, which is why I love taking them to Disney World, because they just get along so great and they have so much fun and they have all of their inside jokes that they do together, and it's a great time. We have a really great time together.
I can only imagine. I'm going to share a little bit. I am the middle of 3 boys in my family. I'm the youngest. I apologize. I forgot where I stood in the order of things. I'm the youngest of 3 boys. And there was always, you mentioned inside jokes. We didn't come to Disney as kids. We were not fortunate enough to do that. But when we did travel, it was always this thing of kind of like you had your friends built in with you. So we had inside jokes and things we used to do and pick on each other and have a good time. So I imagine for them, that must be a great experience. And I think about the memories they must make, they're making as they travel with you and with each other.
It really, and sometimes they just have me just laughing so hard because they love the Muppets. And so we always go to Muppets 3D. And anytime Sam Eagle comes on the screen, both of them, or all 3 of them, stand up, like slap their hands to their side, stand in attention, and salute. Anytime.
Do you know why?
They feel like they need to be American and patriotic.
That's funny.
The standard. And it's hilarious. And I'm sitting there dying laughing, and they do it every single time. So they are so funny when they're traveling together. So it's great.
That's great. Awesome. All right, I'm going to move on to Cory. I think many of you know Cory from our Tuesday shows and years of being on the podcast, but I'm going to let Cory introduce himself again from the aspect of his Disney story and as well as his family dynamic.
I'll keep it quick. I have 46 years. I have 46 years to summarize, but look, I grew up in a Disney family. I'd say I was brainwashed, and my parents did a good job of it. I'm from New Orleans, so we would skip Mardi Gras and come to Disney World because everybody gets off for work in New Orleans. So we would come to Disney World for Mardi Gras, and I'm coming off of a cold, so if I sound a little stuffy, that's why. So we would come to Disney World, and Dixie Landings was where we stayed before it was Port Orleans Riverside, and that's still one of our favorite resorts to stay at. A beautiful moderate. But my Disney story, what got me here was when I was at River Country. My dad remembered me telling him I was coming down one of the slides and I saw a lifeguard. And I said, Dad, I want a lifeguard for Disney one day. And so fast forward to 1997, I did the college program, the summer of 97, and I was a lifeguard at Blizzard Beach. So a little small goal, but I achieved it. Came back summer of 98, just worked at Blizzard Beach for the summer, went back to school, LSU, and met my wife there. And I told her, I said, look, when I graduate, I am moving to Orlando. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to work for Disney. I'm going to do something in the Disney capacity. I said, if you're still with me, why don't you just come with me? And luckily for me, she did. So she dropped out of LSU, moved to Orlando with me, and finished her degree at UCF here. So that's how we got to Orlando. Fast forward 9 years later, our first son was born. Our first child was born, Ferris, after Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And he's 14 now. And he has Down syndrome. So we have that sort of special needs experience in the parks. And then our daughter, Finley, is 13. And she's typical. So we have a 14 and 13-year-old. We don't really have a lot of information on traveling with our kids because we're local. But they grew up in the parks. We went through two kids with diapers in the parks. We had to navigate the double stroller, which I wouldn't wish on anybody. They have experienced Disney from infants all the way to right now. And Disneyland, their first time at Disneyland was this past August. So they've been on many cruises, endless times at Walt Disney World, and Disneyland their first time, which was something special, but it was a short, quick trip. We want to stay longer, but we did a little bit of Southern California mixed in with Disneyland. So that's kind of where we're at with our kids, how we got here, and they're obsessed. Well, Ferris is more obsessed with Disney than Finley. She's kind of grown out of it. She went through her whole princess stage, and now she's just a teenager who wants to be on the phone. But Ferris wants to do everything.
Again, this is one of those things when you tell me the ages of your children and I go, what? He's how old? Because I remember them as babies, of course. I think we could take about an hour and a half and let's go through your shoe collection behind you, because I'm sure there are people who are going to want to know.
Yeah, well, it's like my personality behind me right there. A little bit of Disney, a little bit of shoes.
I am sure people are probably out there freaking out over your shoe collection.
My Vinylmations back there. I went through a whole Vinylmation kick. I was only collecting Vinylmations that fit in with my personality. So Donald Duck is my favorite, so I had to collect every single Donald Duck. And then there's a Mardi Gras one in there, and just a bunch of other ones.
Well, yeah. Bad news. Apparently Vinylmations are coming back. Rhino sent me a message about that the other day. I was like, oh gosh, I thought these died forever. But,
please,
more plastic.
The collectibles go away. Oh my God.
Well, you know what I did is they have like these little cases, and I bought one case, and I said, all right, Cory, you're gonna fill that one case up, and when it's filled up, you're gonna just stop. That's gonna be the end of your collection. And then I saw another one. I'm like, well, I need another case, and so I have 3 cases now, and I'm done. But I did the same thing with shoes. I just built a little shelf. I said, that you're done. Then I kept stacking. I'm like, all right, you got to stop.
John, anyway. I have my anecdote for this episode. Don't let your kids buy anything that's collectible.
Kevin and I were pin collectors, and I have big plastic tubs in my garage with those black books with every inch of them filled with pins. And I have no idea what to do with them. I don't know how to display them. I don't know what I should do with them, but that was our obsession for the longest time. So
Julie and I used to stick the pins on our visor in the car. So I was the driver. My driver's side would be my pins, and hers would be on the passenger side. It just, I don't know. It was kind of fun.
Disney's very good at that, right? Disney's excellent.
Yeah.
There's popcorn buckets and there's all these other things that people are collecting, and it's what they do. They're good at it. Craig, I know you were on the last couple of shows, and I think people have a good idea of who you are. If you want to just give us a real quick recap of your family dynamic.
No, absolutely. I'm still Craig, and I am still, as of this episode, married to my wonderful wife, Kylie, and I still have one son who I think actually thinking about when these release, since we record them in batches, but I believe the next episode I'll be able to say I have a 1-year-old. I believe at that point in time. Yeah, it's when you time travel while recording, sometimes crazy things happen and you go from not 1 to 1. So
that's incredible.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And we love going to Walt Disney World together as a family. We love going to Disneyland as a family. We will see if we love going to Disney Cruise Line as a family. Universal, well, we all know the issues with Universal and kids. There's not a ton to do, but one day I'm sure we will love to go to Universal as a family.
Yeah, I think that'll make excellent content for folks as well. I mean, let's do a show where you guys actually go and you tell us about what are the limitations of Universal and what, why it's not right or is right, or, how you can work that through.
Yeah.
Thank you guys very much for taking the time to introduce yourselves. I know folks know you from other shows, but I don't know that everybody knows our family history. So I think that's a really great way to connect with folks, and hopefully we'll be able to get it sort of zoned in with them and clicked in with them. So what I ask everybody to do the first time they're on an episode with me is I like to put you on the spot and make you come up with an anecdote, something that you think is sort of a cute story or a little bit of something experience you've had with your family that maybe sums up your family dynamic or the things that you are used to dealing with when traveling to Walt Disney World or any destination. But, I was hoping you guys would come with a little bit of something to help us understand your family a little bit better and get a little insight into you. So I'll start with Elaine. Elaine, what do you have for us?
So, as I said, when I was growing up and I came with my parents, it was a very different looking trip as what our trips look like now, where we stay on property, we eat on property, that kind of thing. And I wanted my parents to experience that. So for their 50th wedding anniversary, I said, you're coming to Disney with us so that we could all go together. My parents with my kids, we could stay on property. So we got a suite at Art of Animation, so we could all stay together. And we all had the matching shirts every day. Big horde of us. So we decided that we wanted to go on Splash Mountain. My mom had apparently never had been on Splash Mountain, and we had to trick her to go on it because as we're walking by and you see the logs coming down the waterfall, we said, no, that's not what we're going on. That's a different ride. We're going to walk through attraction where you walk through it and you get to see the story. And the kids were in on it. They were convincing her that it was a great walkthrough attraction. It's just like Small World, which is her favorite ride in the whole, in Disney, that we do Small World every single time with her. So we were gonna walk through Splash Mountain and be able to see this story. So we're winding our way through the queue, and she's like, yeah, this is fine. And then it's okay. Now it's time to get into the log. And she was a little hesitant. And I'm like, no, this is part of it. It's just like Small World. You float along and we see all of the characters and then telling the story. It's just like Small World, Mom. So we get in and we're going through, and then it's time to go down that waterfall. And of course, we had to buy the photo because we've got all of us in our bright highlighter yellow shirts. We've filled the entire log. She has a face of pure terror because she's with my youngest son sitting next to her, and he's 2. So she's trying to protect him. She's in terror. It is a memory that we talk about all of the time, a very fond memory for all of us except for her, of course. So it really sums up that like we work together as a team.
Did you put her in the front? Did you get her in the splash zone, the perfect spot of the boat to get soaked?
I think she was in the middle because we took up the whole car because it was the 5 of us plus the 2 of them, so 7 of us. So we kind of just took up the entire car. I think she was in the middle, but I'm sure she got adequately wet. So
it's good to know that you're a family of tricksters and you're all mean.
Yeah,
we're trying to trick your mother. So after the fact, did she have a good time? Did she enjoy the ride, or was she mad at you?
I mean, she is never going to go on it ever again, even when it changes over to Tiana's, I'm sure. Because my mother, she is a very soft, gentle, soft-speaking, kind, wonderful woman, and that is not her kind of ride at all. She will never, ever do it again. And every time we remind her that we did that, she just, yeah. So.
I do think there's some good advice in there, though. You tricked your mother into it, but I think for, at least from my perspective right now, with Rory being so young, we are trying to get ahead of the crying and outbursts because of being afraid of rides. And so we're trying to brainwash him early on some of the scarier ones. So his very first attraction at Magic Kingdom was Haunted Mansion. And when we were in Disneyland, we took him on it out there as well too, and Pirates. So added in the hills as well, and obviously dark and scary moments. But we're gonna just try to beat that into him and repeat it over and over again. So by the time he's 2 or 3, there won't be that fear, hopefully, or we'll scar him and it'll do more damage in there. But I don't know. I feel like my parents, the first trip they took us on that I can remember, we went on, everything because I was finally tall enough. I did not like Splash Mountain. I remember being terrified, and I believe we still have the photo to prove that. The ride photo of me just eyes agape and clutching onto my mom for dear life. But Space Mountain, I remember my sister was 7 and she was in tears getting off of it, so terrified because it was her first big roller coaster, and I loved it. So get the kids started younger on this stuff before they have time to form opinions. There was one trip I'll never forget where we were older. It was probably somewhere in 2000, 2003, where we saw this kid in tears because of Pirates of the Caribbean, so terrified of it and crying nonstop. Got off the ride. If I remember correctly, he was still crying nonstop. And they're gonna have rough with any other thrill rides. And then the very next day, we see them walking towards Tower of Terror. And just immediately, we're laughing, saying, "No, if he couldn't do Pirates, this is not gonna go over well." So yeah, if you have the option, get them going when they're younger, and I think it'll be a lot more helpful. But you know what? If I'm completely wrong about this, later on I will probably be asking for extra Patreon support to help for Rory's therapy to get over all
I was going to say start them early on getting used to those rides, but also start your therapy fund now.
Yeah,
you start putting a little bit away every day for the therapy. I think that's great. I think that, you also, people know their kids. My only sort of story I have around this is this was many years ago. Oh my gosh, it must be 20 years ago now. Kevin had a friend from New York State, come down with her son. And he was a great kid, and we had a great time, and we went to Disney World with them and took them all around the parks. However, he expressed fear prior to getting on the ride. And he must have been 9, maybe 7, 8, 9. I don't know how big kids are around there. And he said, I don't want to do it. I'm afraid. Please don't make me do it. I'm scared. And she forced him to do it. And I felt that was not right. That didn't seem right to me. I think you should listen to your kid. I mean, Rory doesn't have a choice in the matter at the moment. But I think when they do have a choice in the matter, I think you have to kind of respect that. Am I wrong?
Yeah. I mean, I'll just speak for myself. I've working in the theme parks. There was plenty of times where I witnessed the entire progression, like at Forbidden Journey at Universal, an attraction where you don't know what it is until you jump on it. And I've seen the progression of kids terrified out front, and as it gets closer and closer, like getting even worse, and then getting off and like loving every second of it. So, sometimes I feel like there's instances where even if you know your kids and you're like, I'm not sure, you never know what will connect. But I'll let the actual experts who have older kids and lived through this actually explain. But from the carnival workers' perspective, sometimes you just got to push them on.
Gotcha. I'm going to Cory for that. Cory, what would you do? I mean, do you sort of think to yourself, I know my kid and he might be afraid now or she might be afraid now, so we're going to do it anyway? Or do you say, listen, let's put this off for another time?
Well, we kind of let the kids dictate that because by the time we had kids, we'd already done everything, and so it was now our opportunity to experience Disney through the eyes of our kids. And so we were bringing them, like I said, they were infants, and a lot of these things they couldn't do, with the exception of like It's a Small World and stuff like that. Ferris's first roller coaster was Barnstormer. And I think I have some of the greatest expressions from him on that roller coaster, and that just set him off. So Ferris is really into roller coasters. Finley, not so much. She'll do them. She'll do Tower of Terror, but it'll kind of mess up her day a little bit. But it was, I kind of let her tell us when she was ready to do Tower of Terror. And like Rock and Roller Coaster, Ferris will jump on that with me. Finley's like, no, I'll sit with Mom. I will only force them to try different foods. They can always spit it out, but I won't force them into doing anything like a ride. Like for me, I'll do roller coasters all day. I just can't do like teacups. I can't do the spinning. It'll mess me up. So I wouldn't want somebody to force me on the teacups. The same way I'm not going to force Finley on Rock and Roller Coaster, but Ferris is all for it. Now, the thing with Ferris is that he's very sensitive to loud noises, the bangs of the fireworks, and like Pirates of the Caribbean. Like he'll like it, but those gunshots, that's not him. So we have to be sensitive and to his sensitivity, pretty much. So we leave the parks before the fireworks or anything that we know is going to be like a loud bang. But yeah, I don't really force them into anything. They've tried it all. Finley gave it a go, but she's really not into it. Ferris all the way.
Ferris is in, 100% in. Elaine, how about you with your boys? Has there ever been an instance where one of them said, "Listen, I don't even want to try that. I don't want to go on it"? And then how do you do it? Yeah. I imagine that with older brothers, I know me with my older brothers, they would force me to do anything I didn't want to do. It didn't matter. I had no free will. So I'm interested about your family.
Yes. So I definitely encourage mine strongly to try something if they haven't done it before. And like I said, with my middle son, Riley, and all of his sensory issues that he has, I did a lot of, he likes to know what's going to happen before it happens. So I do a lot of prep with him. If it's something brand new, I will fully explain the ride. I will show him YouTube videos of our rides because Craig does a great job of doing a lot of really great videos as far as rides and shows and that kind of thing.
That whole first person perspective is huge.
Right.
Kids with sensory issues and things like that.
it is a really great tool to be able to show them, like, this is what it looks like. And if I've done it before, I will explain to him, it may go backwards at this point, or it definitely doesn't go upside down, but it's dark. And so I try to explain all those things to him, and I really strongly enforce him. But I will tell you, he is very, very, very strong-willed. If he doesn't want to do something, he does not do it. My oldest and my youngest, they will do anything. They will do any roller coaster. They will do anything. So there are a lot of times that the two of them will go on a ride together, and Riley will say, not doing it. And so I will sit out with him, and the two of us will go do something that he wants to do. And so we've done that many times. There has also been times, now that he's 15, I don't have to stay off of it necessarily with him. If it's something that's a short wait, he is perfectly fine with the three of us going on something. And if you have ever seen any photo of my child, you will see that he always has a book with him. He takes a book into Disney World with him. He takes a book everywhere we go. And so he is more than happy to sit at a table and read a book while we go on a ride. It's what he likes, and it's what he does, and he entertains himself. So we done that now that he is old enough to handle that. He has started doing that as well. But so it's sometimes we have to split up because he is so strong-willed at this point. He is not going to do it. It does not matter what I do. He's not going to ride.
We did, before we went to Disneyland, I was watching a couple YouTube videos with Ferris of the Incredicoaster, because that's a pretty intense one. But he was so excited. I mean, that's all he talked about. And so, we went by ourselves, left Julie and Finley at the hotel, and we went and did that. And he just loved it. But that is not something Finley would have enjoyed at all. Julie wouldn't have enjoyed it either. I was kind of a little out of it afterwards. But Ferris, let's do it again. I'm like, no, bro, that's it.
Really, once is one and done. Cory, I'm sorry, Elaine, go ahead.
The really interesting thing, though, is sometimes their siblings can convince them to do something better than the parents can. Because there was a point in Hollywood Studios where me and my youngest were off doing something, and then my oldest too went to go do something. And Riley had never ridden Rock and Roller Coaster, because that is in the dark and it goes upside down. That is nothing that he would ever do or like, or that I even tried to make him do. And we all met up and we come back, and Max said, Riley went on Rock and Roll. I talked him into it. He went on it and he liked it. So from this point forward, Riley goes on it because his brother talked him into it, and I wasn't there pressuring him either way to do it or not to do it. But his brother was able to get him to go on it, and he did it.
I'm sure there's also a little bit of, hero worship there, right? Younger kids always look up to their older siblings. I know I did. So if they did it, they were cool. So I wanted to be cool. Cory, did we get to your anecdote? Did you cover that in your talkings, or do we need to? Can we circle back around to that?
Well, I don't know if this is going to be a good one or a bad one, but it's a pretty interesting story. And I forget how old Ferris was or how old the kids were. I mean, but they were young. We were staying at Animal Kingdom Lodge, Savannah View. And anytime we have a balcony, whether it's on the cruise ship or a hotel room, especially on the not first floor, we pull all the tables back, pull the table back, pull the chairs back, just so kids aren't climbing and, we have an issue. I was probably taking photos. Ferris had already thrown a couple things off the balcony. We were donating things to Savannah, and Julie's inside with Finley. That's when the rooms had bunk beds, which was beautiful for us. So I'm on the balcony with Ferris. Chairs are pushed back, tables pushed back. I'm probably focusing on a giraffe or something. And Julie's like, "Where's Ferris?" I look. Ferris, he's not inside. He had crawled under the little divider and made his way to the next balcony.
Holy smokes.
Yeah. And I'm like, really? I'm focusing on a damn giraffe, and my son is crawling through the damn underneath the divider. That's probably a little bit of our family dynamic. I'm focusing on photos, get the shot. Finley's in with Finley's inside with Julie, and Ferris is doing his own thing, being a little Ferris. But ever since then, I'm like, all right, watch your kids, Cory. Watch your kids. There was another time, I think, Julie was pregnant. I think I've told this story before. And the American Adventure bathrooms, before they were redone, and Julie was like, she was very pregnant. And this was during Food and Wine Festival, and she had to use the bathroom. And the line for the women's bathroom was crazy. The line for the men's bathroom was not bad. So I had to sneak her in. Not sneak her in. I mean, I just walked her right into the men's bathroom. I'm like, sorry, guys, my wife's got to go. There's nowhere else. The line's too long. And I remember like a week later, received an email into the podcast account saying, I saw Cory sneak Julie into the men's bathroom at Epcot. I'm like, oh, geez. People are always watching. And that kind of let me know that, when we started bringing our kids to the parks, that, all right, just make sure you don't yell at them. It's because you never know who's watching.
Could be bad. Well, yeah, the fact that you have Spider Ferris who's swinging from balcony to balcony, probably a good time to stop the show before child services burst down the door. Takes
I know, right?
Away. Guys, thank you very much for participating in this episode. I truly appreciate it. I enjoyed your stories very much. We're going to do another one with the both of you. So hopefully we'll get into a little bit more in-depth conversation. We were doing really great, and I enjoyed what you had to say. Thank you both, Elaine and Cory, for joining us. And Craig, you have no choice. So thank you as well. Thank you, everybody at home, for listening and watching. We hope you have a great week. We hope you have a great vacation with your kids.